Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. Oh, I gotta turn the music on my headphones. I can't hear it in my headphones. All right. Well, sorry I'm a little bit late, but you know what? To be honest with you, where I sit when I eat breakfast, I can kind of see a little bit of the screen. And I looked over at the screen and I saw that the range had only been like 4 ticks, and I'm like, screw that. I'm gonna take my time to eat. So that said, it is a Wednesday. We do tend to get good action on Wednesday, so I shouldn't completely poo-poo it, should I? All right, well, let's come to the charts, see where we're at. Well, we are higher today, and it seems that after the 8 o'clock news and then Powell's testimony, that did push the Treasuries higher. So the consumer sentiment was worse than expected. I think that was the biggest driver. But, you know, Powell, as much as he tried to sound hawkish, the market kind of came back out with the expectation that they're probably going to cut interest rates. Like, rate cut expectations just increased. So, kind of an interesting result. I think it would have been more interesting to have seen them sell it like we were kind of talking about. There's kind of that level down there. But no, it didn't happen. That's okay. It's for the best. It's for the best. Here's the S&P 500 still looking pretty good there. Oh yeah, it looks really, really good. Oil. Whew. So it's doing a little bit of bouncing around here. It's already kind of like, well, we're at 64. We can have a little bit of back and forth. I still think, though, that oil is headed lower, at least to 60. Gold. Okay, well, gold took a little bit of a tumble. It's recovering a little bit as well. I think for the gold bugs, you know, like what we got there, I think is actually maybe a little bit encouraging. Like they got a really big setback, but it wasn't that bad. And they are trying to stabilize. So this is something that could maybe trug along for a couple of weeks and then break out to a new high, possibly. Silver still looks amazing to me. Although that yesterday's dip was pretty deep. Copper's starting to look to the upside. Finally. This chart for a while has kind of been like meh. But now it's actually starting to go like, hey, wait a second. Maybe they could break. Well, we'll see. I would like to see copper up a little bit just because that's signs that we're getting more global growth in China again, because that's been one of the big drivers of growth. And then we've got the Japanese yen. So they had quite a bit of a rally here as the dollar declined, but that is starting to normalize as well. And then Bitcoin recovering the losses down to 104. So again, with Bitcoin, it's kind of like you never really get a longer term bear action. And I really think that this is, again, because if things go too low, they just turn on the tether printer. Now, by the way, I have something to say about the tether thing that I read yesterday. So there is a bill currently going through Congress that would essentially regulate stable coins. And a lot of people are very against this bill because they feel that it would legitimize Bitcoin and stable coins and things like that. And personally, I'm really not too concerned if, like, we have stable coins and there's actual regulations on what they can hold, and, you know, that they're kept safe for consumers. That's perfectly okay. Because at the end of the day, they're just not that effective in my opinion. The only advantage you get with stable coins is it's decentralized, right? So you can transfer money without having to worry about like the bank debank you, for instance. Okay, so I'm not too concerned about that particular point, but I am concerned that some of these stable coins are committing fraud, and this bill would help address that. Well, Tether has said that they will basically like split the coin, that they will have like a US coin and that stuff will be subject to the US regulation. And then they'll still have the traditional Tether that won't be subject to the US regulation. And you know what that says to me? That says to me that Tether is pretty much admitting that they are indeed committing fraud. So, some food for thought if you're going to invest in Bitcoin. Now, we are getting a little bit of bearish action here in the Treasuries. Cumulative delta seems just kind of okay. My algorithm is still going here, although it has not taken any trades. But I left it on since yesterday, so that's cool. Actually, a little surprised that it didn't get triggered there, but so let's pop out here. Another thing I could say with the cryptocurrencies is that all of the cryptocurrency partnership spam is coming back. Like, big time. It's super annoying. Amir, good morning. Hey, Paul, Ray. So I'm kind of thinking what I got to do here today. I have the day off because I have a dentist appointment and because my wife is going to girls camp. So we've got to watch the kids. And grandma was not available all day today. So, we could stream a little bit longer, but I'm kind of thinking I won't. I think I need to go to the store and pick something up. I think we need more diaper wipes. So, I don't know. I do really want to dig back into the Sierra charts thing. I got pretty far on the weekend, and I really think I've got a good plan, and I just got to put it into practice now. You know, like before, it was kind of like, oh, I don't know enough about how the... Actually, you know what? I think I could show you. Yeah. So, kind of what you get here, they do have like a set defaults section. This is like basically if we are like completely redrawing the chart, we need to reset some things. But they have this method that gives you like the volume profile or footprint information for an individual bar. And then you have to like loop over it. You have to loop over it to add all of the information together, and then I add it to the thing, and that was cumulative delta. That was calculating cumulative delta. So it's kind of like the Sierra charts is so obsessed with having the most performance C++ code that they do so at the expense of your ability to make certain kinds of indicators. So there is like time and sales information and market depth information, but only if you have that like open and it's recording it. For some reason, if you don't have it open, they don't have like a tick replay, but they do have the historical footprint bars. So go figure. But the historical footprint bars for our inventory cost basis is all that we need. So we just basically have to iterate over this. This is the right one, right? Oh, that's the old one. That's the new one. This is the one that we actually want. There we go. You iterate over that data structure. So basically, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to iterate over this data structure and put the information into our own data structure. And then the rest of the algorithm should be fairly copy and paste. Because it's written in C# and the syntax is not that different. So I think we got it. I think we're close, but I probably need another afternoon or two. I don't think today is the day to get into that. Maybe tomorrow on Friday. We'll see. Toyota's patent-pending water-cooled hydrogen engine is a new technology that injects water directly into the cylinders to address the high operating temperatures of hydrogen engines. The water circulation system cools the engine block and cylinder head, allowing for the use of lighter materials like aluminum instead of steel. This reduces the vehicle weight and improves efficiency. Wow. That sounds... An aluminum engine sounds so fantastical. Would an aluminum engine really hold up to the rigors of an engine, though? I don't know. Hydrogen engines sound like a dream. There's got to be... Engines are already aluminum sometimes? Okay. Or maybe like aluminum alloys, perhaps. But just hydrogen engine in general sounds so fantastical to me. Like, there's no way that'll ever happen. Like, when it was electric vehicles, it was kind of like, well, yeah, probably that's going to happen eventually. Like, we've always been able to do it, and it's just kind of never been like a, like it really makes sense, right? But a hydrogen engine, that just sounds like, we're in the future, Inventing. The same thing all the other things are inventing, using, yeah, apparently. Well, but I think that the unique thing here is that they're using the water as a radiator directly within the engine block. You can install hydrogen injectors aftermarket right now, really? Well, I do know that they have had hydrogen cars for a while. That's true. For about 5 years, that sounds about right. Like air-cooled engines with a few more steps, maybe. I think though, it's kind of seems implied to me that after the water is used for cooling, that the water is then used for fuel, but I could be wrong about that. Man, why does my nose itch so bad this morning? So have you heard this other thing that's going on? What's the name? You guys are going to tell me the name of the company. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I haven't looked into it that deep. But apparently there is a company that is basically building like a flying taxi. Like we've got in the quadricopter and the jet engine technology far enough along and miniaturized enough that they basically have like air bikes now, like a motorcycle that flies. And this company apparently wants to turn it into a whole thing where basically everybody flies everywhere, which I don't know how that works, but it kind of sounds implied to me that you wouldn't be driving it, that it would all be driven with AI. And that these things would be really, really fast. So that, you know, you could fly to your commute and fly to somewhere that would normally be an hour or two away, and it's only like 10 minutes. That's the stuff that I'm seeing on some of these subreddits. And like normally it would be like, okay, there's always crazy people saying stuff like that, but apparently there is like a stock out there talking about this that's doing well. What do you mean there's no such thing as an aluminum alloy? Huh? Okay, so are you saying that if you put aluminum into something else, that you don't call it an aluminum alloy because aluminum itself is normally an alloy? But I wouldn't say it's accurate to say aluminum is an alloy because aluminum is an element. But when you encounter aluminum, like an aluminum cup or something like that, you're not getting pure aluminum usually. True, probably.
Block cell.
In most cases. That's kind of interesting. Big block cell coming out there, but it's at 16 and there's been iceberging there. I don't know if I should read too much into that. I guess the other thing that I really want to do is return these. I really liked these headphones. I'm considering keeping them. I'm thinking, well, they would be good to mix with, and it would really help, and I can keep them just for mixing. But if I'm going to have the headphones just for mixing, shouldn't I get open back headphones? Well, but kids do get loud sometimes. I don't know. One of my issues is that ultimately I really want that set of headphones that just really kicks really deep. What I really need is Audi's LCDX. And so maybe I should return these, save up $600 more, buy the LCDX. But then at that point, then it's like, yeah, but why don't you just get better studio monitors? Because there are only 5-inch monitors, and I would really like 10. Kind of feeling like it's not that hot in here, but I'm starting to sweat. Don't waste an extra username being this stupid. Wait, are you going to argue with him about aluminum? It kind of seemed like a really pedantic thing to argue about, didn't it? I didn't even look. That is that actually is funny, isn't it? Okay, so then is it like, oh, I'm just going to argue with him about the first thing that I can think of to argue? Or is he really like that autistic? Is that it? Is it that he's just autistic? We've been picking on a little autistic kid this whole time? An alloy is two metals put together. Yes, aluminum is often an alloy, while pure aluminum exists is typically combined with other elements like copper, magnesium, silicone, or zinc to create aluminum alloys, which have enhanced properties like increased strength and durability. Sure. What we should really do here, because there was a question there, and how much is aluminum used in current production car engines? Aluminum is extensively used in modern car engines, primarily to reduce weight and improve fuel efficiency. Here's a breakdown of how much aluminum is typically used and where. Most gasoline and hybrid car engines today use aluminum engine blocks. Oh, really? Either fully aluminum or aluminum blocks with iron cylinder liners. Cylinder heads are almost universally aluminum, even when the block is cast iron. Weight per engine, about 80 to 150 pounds of aluminum per engine, depending on engine size and design. Percentage of engine weight in fully aluminum engines, aluminum can account for 60 to 70% of the engine's total weight. That is stunning to me. I did not realize that it was used that extensively. That is something else. Okay, well, has gone down another tick or two. I kind of feel like after that is enough of a flow that I could probably consider taking a trade just trying to ride that flow, because it has been a relatively strong and persistent sell flow. I'm really struggling to come up with a reason for why we would see that, though. We got Powell testifying again today at 8 o'clock. New home sales, 5-year note auction. A flow that big just really doesn't make sense to me. So I think in this instance, I got to be careful. Because maybe there really is a good persistent flow, but this is a situation where I think that they could try and fake it and trick you a little bit, or that there would be a big flow and it really doesn't persist. And since I don't really see a good reason for why that flow would be coming through, I think I have to default to that it's not going to be persistent. Or to put it another way, if my reading of the future predicted flows is even, then when I see something that's kind of out of whack, you know, I have a decision to either I'm wrong about the flow, or this is going to mean revert. And more often than not, it does mean revert in that situation. I guess. So now I'm thinking, should I take a trade off of it? No, I don't think so. Because if it were to mean revert, I think that the best you would get was 16.5. So I don't think the risk reward is there for the trade. Well, we can just kind of make note of it. See if it does come back up to the 16 or not. Do I see anything in the spreads? Actually, I do see a little bit of something in the spreads. A little bit of steepening. And there was a big sell in the 30-year when the 30-year broke new lows. That might be significant. So that's another kind of slight signal that maybe there really is something coming through here. That downtick looked pretty good. Now I'm really focusing on it. When I start to really focus on the DOM, then it just makes me want to take trades, right? What do you guys think about the New York City Democrat mayor primary? Kumo concedes to socialist Zohran Mamdani. I've heard awful things about this guy, but I can't wait to see how that plays out. Well, so yeah, I don't really, this has not been on my radar at all. And I was reading about that. Yeah, like it sounds like the guy is a commie. It also sounds like he's like a Holocaust denier. Or like people are saying that he like fully supports like global intifada, completely destroy the state of Israel, etc., etc. He's been a citizen for 5 minutes, really. But here's the thing: is like Mayor Adams is running again. He's just not running as a Democrat. So doesn't that kind of make Adams the favorite? And I'm seeing some people saying that the Republicans should just drop out so that everybody can coalesce behind Adams. But people weren't really happy with Adams either. He's kind of had a change of heart, but people weren't necessarily happy with Adams. I hope who is he? You hope Adams wins? I get high off of hopes being crushed. I guess the thing that shocked me was, okay, so this guy is like a straight up socialist, but then you get on Reddit and you would never know that from the way that people on Reddit talk about it. Like in the politics thread about this, like some of the top comments were like, are you paying attention to the Democrat Party? Like, this is what we want. They were all so happy about it. They're all so happy about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is Reddit really just that into what sounds like a full-on communist? It just, wow. Wow. You know? Should have reset now. That was another tick. I think if I had taken when I was saying, well, we could I didn't say we could possibly do something, but I was clearly thinking about it, right? We are one tick. Since then, I want the city to plunge into chaos with a vast network of state-run grocery stores. Never vote for a Muslim. Oh man, I don't know if I can if it's okay to go that far, bro. But will be after those people get elected in. Look at England. Yeah. Well, okay. So here's the thing. I kind of feel like that's kind of more a symptom rather than a problem, right? Like, I think you're kind of looking at it from the perspective of, Okay, once one of them gets in, and then they start to dominate, and they will change everything in the way that they want things to go, right? But that only happens because there's so many Muslims there already. That's what's happening in England, at least. So, you know, like if this guy is Muslim in New York, I don't think that that's going to Muslimify New York. I think that's kind of silly. So I don't think that him being Muslim is a good reason to not vote for him. I think him being a socialist is a good reason to not vote for him, though. I want restorative justice that lets lunatics victimize the maximum amount of people. How's Sierra Charts treating you? Oh, I was talking about that earlier. So I don't like the way that it works, but I do think I have a way forward. I know how to do what I've got to do. I think that I'm going to create my own data structure, and then I'm going to use that data structure and run my algo against it. So a little bit more work to do it the Sierra Charts way, but why does, and I don't think that they're complaining about his religion. Like, I think there's this other argument that would be to say that because I don't like certain aspects of that religion, any person that gets into office from that religion is going to make bad decisions that I don't like. I can see somebody making that argument. I don't agree with that. But I don't think that it has anything to do with his religion as much as it is concerns that an ethnic group that has very different values from us is taking over certain areas. Pick older usernames. But still, we haven't really answered my question. What does the race look like today? Does this guy really stand a chance of winning against Adams, who is running as an independent? You know, we haven't even talked about some of the other geopolitical headlines, because the big piece of news yesterday was that an intelligence report was leaked to CNN that suggested that not very much, if any at all, of Iran's nuclear material was damaged in the strikes over the weekend. And the administration says, yes, they've seen that report. They have other information. They think that it's wrong, essentially. They think that that report is wrong. And there's been this big back and forth about it. But I personally, I'm really concerned. Like, I'm really concerned that we go and there's all this hoopla over preventing Iran from getting a bomb, and then they end up getting one anyways. If that happened, I think that it would be absolutely devastating to geopolitical order. I think it would turn into a free-for-all. Everybody would be trying to get nukes. Stupid things would happen. Like, I think it's a really bad thing. You come in and you say, we're not going to allow you to have nukes. You take military actions to prevent them, then you better be sure that the actions you take really truly prevent them from getting the bomb. And right now, I'm not really confident that they're going to prevent that. I kind of feel like that Donald Trump, in his infinite desire for quick and easy wins, might, miss the opportunity to stop this, I have the feeling that Trump got played. Well, I don't think that it's that he got played. I mean, how exactly was he played or deceived? I'm not so sure. But what I think it is it's just, he doesn't like war. He doesn't want this thing to go on. And so he's doing the thing that's best for him politically in the short run. And both sides kind of wanted a ceasefire. So they got the ceasefire, right? But here's the thing. It probably isn't up to Trump in the end. Like, if this report really bears out to be true, then almost certainly we will see Israel making more strikes in the near future once they've kind of like caught their breath. Yeah? Like, that's kind of my takeaway. My takeaway is oil's probably headed down to 60, but then at some point it's going to spike again this year. How did you get into computer science? Because I am not a poli science major. I have always been, since 5 years old, intended fully on doing whatever with computers. I knew from since as young as I can remember that I just wanted to be on a computer. And the political science sort of a thing is just something I've picked up on my own. Right. I volunteered on a lot of political campaigns. I really spent a lot of time reading about it over the past 15 years or so. And then, I worked for a financial company. Nah, I didn't major in it. No. I mean, because if you major in it, then what you tend to end up doing is become like a chief in staff for a senator or something like that, right? Oh. Or a lobbyist. There you go. It's kind of funny, the more that I think about it, like where is the money really in our society? Where is the money really? Well, people that own businesses, just kind of hard. And people involved in government. Like, the amount of wealth in Washington, D.C. is nauseating. It's kind of gross to think about, isn't it? That some of the richest people are really they're getting the money straight from the government. They're the people that are up there, and I really don't think that that's the way that it should be. There shouldn't be so much money in it that's the wealthiest people in our society. That's a problem. Oh, the price on the homepage. I never changed the homepage. I'm sorry. That's a good thing. I can just go change that real quick right now. I didn't realize that I even had the price on there. Or is it not here? Is it? You go buy now. And then it's 200. Where are you talking about that it lists the price? We'll see in 2 months, but since when is CNN credible? Well, in this, one of the things that is it in free trial? Free downloads, maybe? Oh, right there. Yeah, it's on the download. You don't have to like refresh your cache, but that should fix that. Okay, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, since when is CNN credible? So CNN cited intelligence officials. So basically this was a leak. And the administration has basically said, oh yeah, we've seen that report, etc. So they've confirmed the CNN reporting. So I don't think that I would say it's fake. Clearly, though, this was information that wasn't supposed to be given to the public and was leaked in an attempt to make Donald Trump look bad. That certainly is the case. And I think that it's totally legitimate to question the intelligence itself, because they don't tell us how they came to that conclusion. Almost everything that we've been reading everywhere else has been that we really don't have any idea what the damage is like yet, because people can't even get into the facility because like they bombed all of the roads and the entrances and everything, and so they can't even really get in to see the damage yet. But maybe the reason they have that intelligence report is because the Iranians have gotten in and seen the facility and have seen that the centrifuges weren't just damaged that much. And then a spy relayed that information back to, like, we just don't know. So we don't really have enough information to understand the veracity of it. And so then the Trump administration basically says that they don't agree with it. Well, why don't you agree with it? They can't say, because, I mean, you're arguing about intelligence that's classified. So it's either they disagree with it because it just doesn't say what they want it to say, or they disagree with it because there's other information that they have, or they disagree with it because there's things about the way that we got the information and what we know that means that it might not entirely be accurate. There's no way for us to know. Is that something that really, really drives me nuts about what I see on the internet, is that a report like that will come out and people won't sit down and ask, okay, so how do they know that? How likely is it to be accurate? Why is it that Donald Trump disagrees with it? But they don't ask all of these questions. They just immediately jump to, oh, Donald Trump is a fool, and this report says everything that I wanted to say, so I'm just going to run with this. You know? I hate it so much. Especially when it happens in our Discord or in our community, and people are going to potentially make trades with that, you know? Another thing I think is kind of weird about all of this stuff is that the way that they, like the mistakes that people make in analyzing these things kind of cause them to make bad trades both directions. I think at some points that people took trades, you know, like that this would die back down way too early, and then we had further spikes up and they got killed. I think that some of the information that they were getting, because they're kind of anti-Israel anyways, they kind of like dismissed the action and thought that Israel was going to back off or not do something, or that the US wouldn't do something. So there was kind of people betting that way. And then there's kind of been other people betting, you know, then when it did die down, there was some people that wanted to bet that it was going to flare up because they underestimated the probability that Donald Trump could actually negotiate a truce. I just don't know how we just go and look. It seems Iran is open, and if it's not destroyed, just drop more stuff. So I'm not 100% sure what you're saying, but I have thought like, okay, if we don't really understand what the damage was, why don't we just send a team of Marines down there? Is that too dangerous? I don't know. I think Trump's actions exposed the Chinese influence leaked like this still dossier. There's definitely like Chinese influence out there online that everybody ignores. That's very troublesome to me. Man. But you know what? Through this conflict, I have seen a shift in that. Like, the whole thing has been Russia, Iran, and China are allies, and they've kind of been helping Iran to some extent. Like, Iran, a lot of their anti-air stuff and everything came from the Russians. And this conflict has kind of exposed that in two ways. One is, I think that the Iranians are kind of finding out that the help that they got from the Russians and Chinese, it wasn't worth much. The weapons that they had were completely useless against the Israelis. The Israelis were able to hit anything that they wanted. And basically all the Iranians could do is hide their stuff. So I don't think that their hardware performed as well as they thought it was going to. But then when push came to shove, China was kind of like, hey, stop being stupid. We don't want this war. So China was really not willing to back them up. Like, if this had come down to a full ground, I saw a lot of people in chat, in Discord, arguing this over, because there's one in particular that really sounds like I don't know if he's liberal or conservative, but he's like really super anti-war, anti-deep state kind of take, and but he's also very anti-Israel, and it kind of even, I would say, pro-Russian to some extent. And so I guess he probably is a conservative, but he tries to be crazy. And he was like, oh, they're not going to do this because if they did, Russia would step in or China would step in or something. Like, no. Like, there were already been the reports and everything that China's basically said, you're on your own. Like, Like, China does these things because they want to weaken Western nations so that China has a competitive advantage. But as soon as it turns into, like, China having to actually, like, give something up or put lives on the line for it, they're gone. So I think that got exposed in this as well. And so I kind of wonder if the Chinese are kind of saying, you know what, this Iran thing, not really worth it. Maybe they don't push that propaganda as hard anymore. There's definitely like Iranian influence campaigns out there too. But yeah, so Rubio is the best source for the yeah, except for that he did lie at certain points, but it is kind of curious to me how Rubio has kind of become one of the best go-to people in the administration, isn't it? Like, when we're looking at 2028 presidential contenders, it's definitely JD Vance and then Rubio. Just saying. Kind of think Ted Cruz has kind of given up on presidential aspirations, but we'll see. Actually, it's going to be really, really interesting to see in 2028 who actually does run. Because this last time around, there was a lot of people that didn't run because they're like, if I run now and I run against Donald Trump, it will hurt my future chances. So they didn't run. And, Ted Cruz is definitely one of those. I think another one is Rand Paul. Because I think that there's kind of this idea in everybody's minds that, like, Rand Paul gave up on his presidential aspirations. Ted Cruz gave up on his presidential aspirations. But I'm not so sure. I kind of feel like that Rand Paul doesn't really stand a chance and that he shouldn't bother. But we'll see if he does. If they have podcasts, then actually, I don't know about that, Uzi. Like I get where you're coming from, but one of the things that I've kind of seen is some of these guys, they run for president, they lose, and then they start getting Fox News contracts and things like that. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm making so much money and I have so much influence doing this and basically being like just a celebrity has run that they just do that. Like that's what Huckabee did, right? I really thought that Huckabee would run again after he had come so close to beating Mitt Romney. And when his time came, he wasn't interested in it. Just saying. You know what I mean? I also wonder, another big wild card is Ron DeSantis. Do you think that Ron DeSantis runs again? I think that he wants to run again, but I kind of feel like that he performed so poorly when he was running against Trump. Not just like, oh, okay, when we look at it in retrospect, probably nothing you could do to beat Trump. But DeSantis's campaign really did not go well. And I think it really, really, really lowered people's expectations of him. So maybe he doesn't run. You know? And that's another thing, is that part of it is certain donors and people within the political party will encourage certain people to run. And I don't think that this time around that they're going to be saying that to DeSantis as aggressively. Probably though, we still got 3 more years or whatever. Because I think one of the things is going to be, how does this tariff thing really truly sort out? Because right now I'm kind of thinking, you know what? I think that tariffs got too bad of a rap. Like, I'm not saying that tariffs are good. I'm certainly not saying that. I mean, there has definitely been a certain economic toll from tariffs. Okay? But so far, it hasn't been a complete disaster. And in fact, so far it's kind of looking a lot like it's a one-time thing and then it's there. And so it's like, if you take a one-time economic hit that isn't enough to push you into a recession, but you significantly increase government revenues, maybe it's not so bad. Or at least if we get to 2024, and that's the situation, or sorry, 2028. If we get to 2028 and that's the situation, that's what I think people are going to say. Right? And so in that situation, I say that the advantage goes to the most ardent Trump supporters like J.D. Vance. Versus if there continues to be bad effects from tariffs and by the time 2028 comes along, everybody's sick of them, then that probably favors somebody else. Ted Cruz is holding out for the next Supreme Court vacancy. I don't know if that's going to happen. Dude, I can't imagine Ted Cruz on the Supreme Court, but maybe. I tell you what, Supreme Court appointments are just a weird thing. Like the way that the different justices have ruled on different things has really surprised me, at least. So, like, what was the name of the woman that Trump put in? So the guy was Kavanaugh, and the woman was, I can't remember her name, but she has ruled against the conservative side. Barrett, that's right, Barrett. She has ruled against the conservatives on a number of issues, and I see a lot of conservatives being like, "Oh, she was just a deep state plant. Donald Trump really screwed it up on that one." Like I hear that sort of thing a lot. Right. Meanwhile, when you go and you look at the ones that have been made for by Biden, like there was this thing where she was basically complaining. Sorry, what is her? I just don't think about the Supreme Court justices enough to remember their names. But the other lady, they use acronyms for her name because it's so long to say, right? She was basically complaining that, like, they use the law and past precedent to make decisions. That they actually read what the law says in making their decisions, and she was complaining about that. I'm like, what? How did this person become a Supreme Court justice? Are you kidding me? And I'll see comments from all of the justices, even if they're saying something that I agree with. I've on occasion seen them make comments that are kind of like, well, you're not supposed to say that in public, you know? And it kind of makes me wonder. Like, my end conclusion is that we are not that good at picking Supreme Court justices. That, like, maybe the best Supreme Court justice that's really the smartest, brightest legal mind and would really make the best decisions all the time doesn't actually get the job. that there's kind of a limit to how much the president and the Senate knows about these people. And there's all sorts of political considerations. And so the best person never gets picked. A theory, just a theory. Yeah, it looks like they're going for another leg here. Or the presidents just look at the past 4 years of their history, maybe. Yeah. So the Treasuries did make a new low there, but it's a little questionable. I'll give it a bit. There's kind of a little bit of signs of absorption there on the first try. Have you read Traders of... No, I have not. Does it talk about people that are trading retail traders post 2008? Something that really irks me is that most of the literature that we have is based on people that traded in the 80s and 90s, maybe early 2000s. So you get like the turtle traders group, and then you get the group that did electronic trading before the robots have taken over. And I really haven't seen this. Here's this group of traders that they were scalping and really, really successful in spite of the bots. I haven't seen it. It kind of seems to me that that particular section of the field has been taken over and that there's not really opportunities for us there anymore. And so if you're going to trade, you have to go a little bit higher time frame. Maybe there's some stuff in that a few minutes to a few hours time frame, but that's kind of like the gulf where there's not really a lot of empirically proven information about strategies that work in those time frames. And then there's swing trading, and you can certainly be successful, or at least I think that you're more likely to be a successful trader in the swing trading space. Biography of Axios top traders. Oh, okay. Well, so then there is the Axia thing, and my issue with the Axia thing is I think that they're mostly news speculators. I think that their money is mostly coming from news speculation. Which is to say, Live Action says yes. I'm not saying that there's something wrong with that, but it's just that's not going to be as repeatable, right? When I say as repeatable, I mean like you might not be able to do what they're doing. Live Action says I see that too. Yeah. Because I think that retail traders see that and they go, oh, I need to go and learn the Axia stuff. And then if I understand their way of interpreting volume and all of those sorts of things, and then that will be the key that unlocks the markets to us and that sort of a thing. And from what I've seen, they have some interesting ideas there and everything, but they're not really game changers. And that the way that they're really making their money is they understand the news and the probabilities, and they've got their plan of action, and they've got enough money to really play those. Because I think that with us, that if I really had the bankroll and I was willing to take on multiple contracts and everything and take those risks, I do pretty good, and I make pretty good calls on a lot of those. You know? So, the jerk off. You really don't like Powell anymore, huh? So it's kind of like what I was saying about with Supreme Court justices. I kind of see a similar thing with the Federal Reserve. Like to be frank with you, I do not believe, and I did not believe at the time, that Powell was the best choice for Federal Reserve Chairman. I think that he was chosen because he was there at the Fed and he had the right political checkboxes. Because he's really not like a communicator, like getting up in front of the TV and talking to everybody and all. He's gotten good at it, but it's very clearly not something that comes naturally to him, which is maybe kind of why when the ECB picked their president, they went the opposite direction and picked somebody that was a good communicator but didn't really know as much about what they were talking about with policy. And then there's this whole thing that because of institutional biases and internal politics at the Federal Reserve really isn't using the best tools. You can go and Joseph Wang talks about this a lot. I think he has a really good point. I think that there are a lot of models that are kind of like traditional economic models. And some people are so invested in those models that they're never going to give them up, even though they're not effective. And we really need to move into a policy that is informed more by complexity economics. But at the same time, I kind of feel like that everybody was kind of okay with him. It was like, well, I think he kind of made some mistakes, but it wasn't like that bad. Until Donald Trump started attacking him, and then all of a sudden that affected everybody's opinion, whether they really liked him or really didn't like him. And I kind of feel like that as a Fed president, like there are some things about him that are S tier. But when I look at Federal Reserve policy under Powell, I give it a B+. It's just kind of okay. It's not terrible. Trump would give him an F. I don't think that that's fair, but of course, if I don't get the rate cuts in July, August, September, whenever, maybe that ranking will go down, Mr. Powell. Just warning you, because I know that where I rank you on my tier chart really matters to you. Still at the 14, so I think I was I think I had a pretty good read there on the, well, they went to new lows, but it kind of looks a little questionable. I also think, the thing that I said earlier about like, okay, I'm not expecting a huge flow. So when I get a flow there like that, the more likely scenario is that it will end up that it's fake and that it will mean revert. Well, we didn't mean revert to 16, but we basically didn't go anywhere. So he's going to be on The View? What? I can't believe that Powell would go on The View. Yeah, I'm very, very surprised. The View is way like that. Because when you go to the press conferences, when you look at this testimony that he gives in front of Congress, every answer that he gives is, I want to explain to people what the economy is doing right now. I want to explain to people what our current policy is, but that his general objective is to not say anything noteworthy. That he's just going to explain things that he's already explained to people before, right? And That's not what's going to happen on The View. The View is going to ask him stupid questions and really, really pull him into politics and stuff. I can't imagine going on The View unless you wanted to say something that was like really anti-Trump or something, you know? I'm really shocked that he's going on The View on Friday. That's going to be an event. Thank you for sharing that. I wouldn't have known. Man. Oh, that's just like one of those things. He says it and it's just like all the neurons start. You can just see everything in my head lighting up. Like, what? I have so many thoughts off of this now. Like, what is actually going to go down? Because you know, like, these there's always some clip that comes out of that place that's controversial, you know? Like even if he does his normal bit and basically tries to not really say anything significant and just kind of sidesteps any questions about Donald Trump, you know that the ladies are still going to say or do something controversial, you know? I'm actually, like, at this point, I'm kind of surprised that the show hasn't been taken off the air. I don't know if it's going to last that much longer, but good grief. Oh, man. Can you imagine that conversation? I do. Like, is it going to be Jerome Powell just trying to explain basic central banks to them that and we're just gonna be sitting there going like face palming the whole time, like, why are you so stupid? Like, I hope it's not like that. I would assume that they're gonna do good research and they're gonna come in prepared. He's gonna make a move on one. Oh man. So like I could stream later today because again I have the day off. But I don't know. Well, why is the 5-year all of a sudden dropping down to lows? Oh wait, hold on a second. That's weird. Do I not have... Oh, okay, because this is ZT. That's why. Minimize that. Gotcha. I was like, why? ZT just went down to its lows. I was like, why is the 5-year? You pick up that book and I mentioned you'd be surprised how much the content we discuss... Oh. When you say that, it just makes me like less interested in reading it, because it's like, oh, okay, so there's not going to be a whole lot for me to gain from it. Is that what you're saying? I don't know. Like, one of the things that I see on The View is, like Whoopi Goldberg, for instance, right? She'll say things from time to time that I think are just really politically ignorant or unnecessarily controversial, and like they really step in it and they kind of have to backtrack and all these sorts of things. And why is that? Well, really, it's because you've got people that their brains are optimized towards being entertainers, and they're not optimized for politics or any of these other things. So it kind of comes back to like this LLM model, right? You've had people that have been trained their whole lives for politics or for business, and you got people that have been trained their whole life for entertainment. And you go and you take an LLM that was trained on entertainment and then have them comment on politics. They tend to say some things that don't fit. You'll pick up some interesting points. Well, I'll add it on the list, I guess. I'm reading a book about management, and so far everything in it has kind of been like, okay, meh. All seems like common sense to me. And I don't remember if I had the next book lined up that I like really wanted to read or anything, so I guess I can pick that up. But you're gonna have to remind me again later, okay? Like remind me in a month or something. Okay. So the treasuries are still there at 14 though. Should I wait till is there something at the top of the hour? Oh, new home sales change. Yeah, that's not gonna be huge. I think I'm gonna get going. I can hear people up, so I'm gonna go and see if I can go to the store real quick. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Stay excellent, team.